My birthday has always made my parents nervous. They've never said it out loud, but I learned to recognize the tension early. The way my mother overplanned, the way my father watched me like I might suddenly say something inconvenient. Turning 25 should have felt simple. Instead it felt staged. The invitation arrived a week before. A group message. Formal wording. A restaurant I didn't choose. My father wrote family dinner. Important. Nothing else. No cake emoji. No warmth. Just instruction. When I walked into the banquet hall, the sound hit me first. 100 voices layered together, laughter bouncing off white walls. The smell of grilled meat and polished floors mixing into something heavy. Long tables stretched across the room, filled with relatives I hadn't seen in years. Aunts who once pinched my cheeks. Cousins who forgot my name. Everyone dressed like this was a celebration. My mother spotted me immediately. She didn't smile. She nodded, sharp and contained, and pointed toward an empty chair near the center table. My sister sat beside my father, perfectly composed, her phone face down, a small smile already waiting. I took my seat. The chair was cold. The first 20 minutes passed in forced normalcy. Plates clinked. Water glasses refilled. Someone toasted my birthday, voice too loud, too performative. I said thank you. I kept my hands folded in my lap. Then my father stood. He didn't tap a glass. He didn't clear his throat. He simply rose, straight-backed, commanding silence the way only someone used to being obeyed can. Since everyone's here, he said, we're going to be honest tonight. The room quieted. I felt something slide into place inside my chest like a door locking. He turned to me. Lena, he said, my name flattened, you've been a disappointment for a long time. The words landed cleanly. No emotion. Just fact as he saw it. My mother reached into her purse and placed a folded paper on the table in front of me. She slid it forward with 2 fingers like it might contaminate her. A bill, she said. For every cent we wasted raising you. I unfolded it slowly. Tuition. Clothes. Food. Rent assistance from years ago. Everything itemized. Totaled. Pay it, my father said. Or never contact us again. The room stayed silent. No gasps. No objections. 100 witnesses breathing carefully as if noise might implicate them. My sister leaned forward. Her perfume drifted toward me, sharp and expensive. Oh, she said lightly, picking up my car keys from the table. Dad already transferred the title. It's mine now. She smiled like she'd just won a prize. Something in me went very still. My name is Lena Holloway, I'm 25 years old, and on my birthday, my parents publicly disowned me in front of 100 relatives. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I walked out without a word. 4 days later they were calling me 50 times a day. If this resonates with you, share your thoughts. It means more than you know. I stood. My chair scraped softly against the floor, the sound somehow louder than everything else. I didn't look at the bill again. I didn't look at my sister. I didn't look at my parents. I walked out. The hallway outside the banquet room smelled like lemon cleaner and something burnt. My hands shook as I pushed through the exit doors. Night air rushed over my face, cold and grounding. I didn't have my car. I didn't have a ride. I walked. Each step felt deliberate. Heavy. Like my body knew something my mind hadn't caught up to yet. I remembered being 10 years old, sitting at our kitchen table, listening as my parents praised my sister for her grades. I'd held up my own report card, hopeful. My father had glanced at it and said, "Try harder." I remembered being 17, asking if I could stay home instead of attending a family event. My mother had said, "You don't embarrass us by not showing up." Tonight, embarrassment wasn't the goal. Control was. I walked until my feet hurt. Until the sounds of the party disappeared. Until my phone buzzed in my pocket. One message. Then another. Then 5. "Come back. We're not done. You're being dramatic." I didn't respond. I slept on a friend's couch that night. She didn't ask questions. She handed me a blanket and a glass of water and said, "You're safe." The next morning my phone was quiet. For a few hours I almost believed it was over. Then the calls started. Missed calls. Voicemails. Texts from relatives who hadn't spoken up but suddenly had opinions. "Your parents are worried. Family is family. You should apologize." Apologize for what? Being born? I spent the next 3 days rebuilding my life in silence. Canceling subscriptions tied to my family account. Changing passwords. Asking for rides. Taking inventory of what I actually owned. It wasn't much. But it was mine. On the fourth day my phone rang again. My father's number. Then my mother's. Then my sister's. Over and over. 50 times. I didn't answer. Not because I was scared. Because I was finally listening. To myself. In the quiet, another memory surfaced. Me at 19 working late shifts saving for my first apartment. My mother had said, "Don't get too independent. Family is everything." What she meant was dependence. What I chose was freedom. That night I sat alone on the edge of my friend's bed, watching the city lights blink through the window. My phone vibrated again. Another missed call. Another voicemail I didn't play. Something inside me settled. Not relief. Not joy. Just certainty. They hadn't disowned me. They had lost control. And control, I was learning, doesn't disappear quietly. It panics. It reaches. It begs to be restored. For days after my birthday, the people who demanded my silence couldn't stop calling. And I knew then, this wasn't the end of the story. It was the moment everything finally shifted. The fifth day after my birthday the calls slowed. Not because they were finished but because they were regrouping. Silence can be strategic when people realize shouting no longer works. I felt it in my bones the way you feel weather change before the clouds move. I spent that morning at a cafe near my friend's apartment, the kind with chipped mugs and a chalkboard menu written in uneven handwriting. The smell of burnt espresso hung in the air. I liked it because no one knew me there. I ordered toast and sat by the window watching strangers live ordinary lives. My phone buzzed once. A text from my mother. "We need to talk like adults." I laughed quietly, not because it was funny but because it finally was. 2 hours later my aunt called. Then an uncle. Then a cousin who had watched my sister take my car keys and said nothing. Their voices carried the same message, wrapped in different tones. "Your parents are devastated. You embarrassed them. Family matters should stay private." What they meant was obedience. What they wanted was silence. I finished my coffee, wiped the table with a napkin and walked back to the apartment. The hallway smelled like old carpet and someone else's dinner. I sat on the floor with my back against the door and let myself breathe. That afternoon I listened to the voicemails. Not all of them. Just enough. My father's voice was sharp, clipped. "You made us look cruel." My mother's followed, softer, wounded. "We didn't mean it like that." My sister's came last. Casual. Almost bored. "You're really blowing this out of proportion." I deleted them. In the quiet, memories drifted in uninvited. My sister at 12, breaking my favorite mug and blaming me. My parents believing her without question. Me learning early that truth mattered less than convenience. I remembered the way my father used to say, "One day you'll thank us for being tough." I wondered if he believed that or if it was just easier than admitting he enjoyed control. That evening there was a knock at the door. I froze. Another knock. Firmer this time. I stood slowly, heart steady, and opened it. My parents stood in the hallway. No audience. No relatives. Just them. My mother's eyes were red. My father looked smaller without a microphone or witnesses. "We just want to talk," my mother said. I didn't step aside. "You disowned me," I replied. "There's nothing left to discuss." My father's jaw tightened. "You humiliated us." I almost smiled. "You humiliated yourselves." My sister appeared behind them, arms crossed. "You could have handled it privately." "I tried," I said. "For years." My mother reached out, stopped herself. "We didn't think you'd actually leave." That was the truth finally exposed. Not regret. Not remorse. Assumption. "I did," I said. "And I'm not coming back." My father scoffed. "You think you can survive without us?" I met his eyes. "I already am." Silence stretched between us. I noticed small details. The way the hallway light flickered, the sound of a neighbor's TV through the wall, my own reflection faintly visible in the door's glass. My mother's voice broke. "We're your parents." "And I was your daughter," I replied. "You turned that into a transaction." My sister laughed under her breath. "You're being dramatic." I looked at her. Really looked. She had everything I didn't. Approval, assets, confidence borrowed from favoritism. And still something about her eyes flickered. Not guilt. Fear. Fear that control had shifted. I don't want your car, I said. I don't want your money. I don't want your approval. My father frowned. Then what do you want? I thought for a moment. I want distance, I said. And time. And the freedom to exist without being punished for it. My mother nodded weakly. We can give you time. No, I said gently. You don't give it. I take it. They stood there, stunned by the simplicity of it. We raised you, my father said, grasping for authority. You owe us respect. I owe myself peace. I closed the door. My hands trembled after, not from fear but release. I leaned against the door and slid down until I was sitting on the floor, breathing slowly, counting the seconds until my heart matched my breath. Outside, footsteps retreated. Voices murmured. Then nothing. The days that followed were quiet in a way I'd never known. I found a small studio apartment within my budget. I signed the lease myself. The pen felt heavy, important. I bought a cheap mattress and slept on the floor the first night, staring at the ceiling, listening to the hum of the building. No calls. No demands. No comparisons. Just space. I started therapy. I unpacked boxes I didn't realize I'd been carrying. I learned the difference between guilt and grief. One wants you back. The other wants you healed. Occasionally my phone still buzzed. A missed call. A message left unread. I didn't block them. I didn't need to. Silence had become my boundary. One evening, weeks later, I drove past the restaurant where my birthday dinner had been held. Lights glowed inside. Another family celebrating something. Another performance of closeness. I didn't stop. At home I cooked myself a simple meal. Pasta. Garlic. Olive oil. The smell filled the room, warm and real. I ate at my small table alone and felt something unfamiliar settle in my chest. Contentment. Not because everything was perfect, but because it was honest. Before bed I checked my phone one last time. A message from an unknown number. I'm proud of you. I didn't know who sent it. I didn't need to. I turned off the light and lay down, the city breathing softly outside my window. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. New questions. But they would be mine to face. For the first time my life felt like it belonged to me. If you've lived anything like this, tell your story. And don't forget to subscribe. Not for validation, but for connection. I closed my eyes, feeling the quiet wrap around me, steady and unafraid. Sometimes walking away is power.